What's up, guys? Welcome to Nimble Minds Talks of Self and Spirituality, where we talk about different philosophical perspectives as well as spiritual practices. And the topic of today's video is going to be being comfortable with yourself and your self image. So, there's going to be a focus, especially on the melanated people out there, but this message is for everyone. Once again, a focus on the melanated people out there, although this message is for everyone. So, you have to be comfortable with your self-image, okay, and the person that God made. One thing that I've heard growing up that did cause some confusion, although now I understand perfectly why it's like this, is everyone is created in God's image. That is something I truly believe and I agree with, but I always had a question since I was younger, and it's been answered. But that question was, if everyone is created in God's image, why are so many people not okay with that person in the mirror? Why are so many people trying to change themselves? Why are so many people trying to compensate for a lack thereof? I never understood that growing up. And, eventually I started to understand why. The times that we live in, especially society, there's a push, right? An agenda, whatever you want to call it, plan, whatever you want to call it. There's a push for people to not be comfortable with who they are, not be comfortable with that person in the mirror. You can see it everywhere, with especially now on the internet, right? Social media. A lot of women are starting to look the same. All right. Uh, that's one thing I've noticed. It's always I guess you could say, like that figure, that hourglass figure with that like it's like a chiseled type, skinny chin. And personally, I'm not into that look at all. Everyone's starting to look the same, and I don't like it. I prefer a natural woman. And in society, it is the exact opposite of that. In society, speaking on at least the melanated people, right? There's a push for you to not be natural. There's a push for you to change your hair, your facial hair, line this up, get this done this way. And not to say that those things cannot help you aesthetically, right? But we were born with the things that we need. We were born with the tools to be successful in this life and on to the next, right? But it's up to the people. It's up to you guys. It's up to the people taking this message in through this video. It's up to the people listening to utilize those tools, okay? But it is understandable, because there was a time where I was confused. There was a time where, I was younger and I was trying to compensate, and I didn't even know I was trying to compensate. I thought I had to have these shoes on. I thought I had to have this shirt on, this type of, hoodie, this brand or whatever, these type of pants, and I had to look this type of way to attract people. But the whole time I was really, telling God that I am not comfortable with the person that you created me to be. I am no longer doing that. I am perfectly comfortable, 100% happy and blessed and grateful that I am the person that I am today. But there was a time for me. So that means there was a time for, and there is a time for whoever is watching this video and whoever is listening, okay? Because it took me just going through the motions, right, to actually understand, wait a minute. God didn't make a mistake with me. God didn't mess up with me, and he didn't mess up with you. He didn't mess up with the person that's watching this. He did not make a mistake with the person who was listening to this, okay? But there is an effort out there to get people to change who they are, to get people to change the way they look, okay? And there's a lot of money in it too, okay? So that's a big part of it. But there's also a spiritual aspect of it, okay? That it affects your spirit, okay? It affects your soul when you start to change the aesthetic, the appearance of who you are. Because truth be told, all you're doing is putting on a costume. That's all you're doing. You're never actually changing the source. You can't do that, okay? When it comes to God, you can't change the source. You can't change the truth. And the truth is who God created you to be. So there's a lot of people out there that are going to have surgeries, okay? There's a lot of people out there that are going to, take weight loss pills, okay? There's a lot of people that are going to do things to alter their body and alter their appearance that is not natural, okay? And that's, in my opinion, right? That's not okay. I do not agree with that, okay? Because the person you are, the person in that mirror is exactly who you need to be. And once again, like I said, if you are not comfortable with that person that's in the mirror, that's understandable. That's acceptable. But understand, God gave you the tools, okay? The universe gave you the tools, okay? Everything you need is within you, okay? To create that change. So if you're very small or something and you want to put on muscle, you have the tools to do that. And vice versa. If you're a bigger a bigger guy, maybe you got some weight you want to lose. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you got the tools to do that, okay? But to think that you have to gather things outside of yourself in order to become something is just not true. That is not the truth. That's the farthest thing from the truth, okay? Monetary things, material things will only do so much for you until you realize that that is not the answer, until you realize that what have I been chasing this whole time, till you realize that maybe you were wrong, maybe I'm wrong, until you realize that, okay? uh, those material things bring you, it's like a dopamine hit, is what I like to say, okay? And on this channel I like to talk about resisting your temptations, okay? Put the blunt down, take a break, put the drink down, take a break, okay? Have a balance in your life, okay? Stop the gossip, stop the lying, stop the deceit, okay? The sinning, right? So there is a time where you realize those things are not gonna be fulfilling to you, okay? It's like a dopamine hit, like I was saying. You buy that new car. Okay, nice car. Okay, I'm sure the people and the mechanics and the engineers, the designers, put a lot of time and work into it. Okay, so hey, shout out to them, right? But hey, nice car. Then what? Okay, after that fades, what do you buy next? Maybe, a new outfit or something. Okay, nice outfit. Then what? Okay, because that's the mindset, right? And then what? Now you have like a big house, nice house. Then what? Well, what's the next thing? Okay, so you're in a constant chase, you're in a constant search for things outside of yourself. And that is not how God intended things to be. But that is par for the times that we're in. So it is understandable that people will be misled. It is understandable that people will search outside of themselves for the answers. They will go give into the materials, as there was a time I gave into the material things. I thought I needed to have all this stuff. I wanted the fancy car. I wanted the fancy shoes, the fancy clothes, the fancy chains, the fancy things, man. But it did come a time where I was like, this really is actually not doing anything for me. And if anything, I feel more empty than I do now, having that stuff, because it was just like, this just wasn't bringing me anything. Okay? And once again, there are going to be people who hear this. There's going to be people that listen to this and go, I just don't agree with that. Okay, I like this and that. Okay, you can like this and that. There's nothing wrong with that. You can like your material possessions. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But at the end of the day, you have to understand that is not where true fulfillment comes from, okay? That's not where spiritual fulfillment comes from. That is not where your soul is fulfilled, okay? It's fulfilled when you truly start to connect with God. What is God? God is that spirit, okay? It's not in one person. God is not one person, okay? So if anybody comes to you like that, they're lying to you. God is the truth. God is the light. God is the spirit, okay? That's what God is, okay? But it's on you to connect with God. It's on you to really want the truth and really want to understand, okay, there are some things I'm going to have to change in order to better live in accordance with, the word. All right. So once again, let's get back on track. That's just the society we're in, though, today. So a lot of people are falling into that. A lot of people are like, I'm going to change this about myself. I'm going to change this part about myself, the way I look. And this is it. This has to be the answer, right? Because people can't see past the clothes, right? There's no way people can see past my facade, right? There's no way, the spirit can see past all these things and go to the source of who you are, which doesn't change, right? Unless you make an effort to change. You can dress it up however you want. It doesn't change the product. You could dress it up, make it look nice, make it look bad. It does not change the spirit, okay? So you're only fooling yourself. For the people out there that want to change the way they look, they're not happy with what God created them to be and who they are, you're only lying to yourself. And eventually, I believe people will come to understand that When you lie to people and you lie to that person in the mirror, the only person you're actually lying to is yourself. Because people can see past that. Okay, people eventually can see past the clothes, see past the car, see past the money, and then they understand who you are. Once again, they see past the clothes, they see past the money, they see past the car, and they understand who you are. Okay? So why do I say all this? I say this because I urge people to be comfortable with that person in the mirror. And if you want to make changes, understand you have the tools to do that. It will take some effort, some time, some energy, but you have the tools to do it because God gave you the tools. Okay? God created everybody in his image, correct? Okay, so why are you trying to change this image so much? Why are you uncomfortable with this work, this architecture? Why are you uncomfortable with it? That's my question. Only you know the answer to that. Okay? But I urge people to be comfortable, especially the melanated people, the brothers, sisters, whoever's watching, whoever's listening out there, hey, especially the women. Don't change. You don't need to change your hair. You know what to do with that hair, that luscious hair, that beautiful coarse hair. You know what to do with it. That's some of the best hair you'll ever have. For the brothers out there, hey, you don't need all them chains. What is that chain gonna do? What does that do? That's an ego thing. Okay? Grow your hair. And if you don't like growing your hair, just, don't give in to thinking you have to look this certain way in order to be in a certain position, all right? There's just some situations where it's understandable. Hey, maybe you have a job, right? And this job is keeping you somewhere. And hey, there's a requirement to where your hair has to be like this in order for you to maintain that position. Okay. That's something you got to give up, right? And for the woman, maybe, jobs like, okay, maybe that's something you got to give up, right? But you guys need to be comfortable with yourselves. You need to be comfortable with the hair you were given, the face you were given, the body you were given, the legs you were given, the height you were given. I'm a short guy. There was a time when I was younger where I actually cared about height. There was a time when I was younger where I was like, oh my gosh, when I get older, I'm like 6 feet. Dude, I love my height. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm like 5'6", 5'7". I wouldn't change that. I'm perfectly fine with who I am. I love my height. Okay? So that's what I urge other people to be comfortable with. Maybe there's people who are like super tall out there and they're like, dang, maybe if I was a little shorter, I wouldn't have these issues, or I would be able to do this, and vice versa. I know, because I used to have these problems, right? There's shorter guys out there that are like, dang, man, if I could be a little taller, you know what I'm saying? Hey, no, that's not true. That is not the answer. The answer is not to change, but maybe rearrange. Maybe rearrange how you feel about yourself. Okay, maybe your height is a gift, not a curse. Maybe your hair is a gift, not a curse. Maybe your situation is a gift, not a curse. Okay? Because a lot of people start putting things on themselves and they start to believe it. They start to believe, you know what, you got to be cursed. It has to be an issue with me. No. I believe everybody goes through things for a specific reason. Okay? I've had my trials and tribulations, but I can tell you what, I'm blessed to have gone through the things I have gone through because it has given me a perspective that I love. It has allowed me to be in situations and read books and do certain things that have brought me a certain fulfillment that I didn't think was possible. So once again, I'm grateful for my situation. I don't think I'm cursed, but some people may look at it like that. Not me. I'm blessed, okay? And I understand that, okay? So I urge people, once again, be comfortable with that person you see in the mirror. Stop trying to appease people who don't care about you, because that's all you're doing. Why are you trying to appease people who don't care about you, okay? Appease yourself, appease your spirit, appease your soul, and you will appease God, okay? And once again, there's a big push out there. Social media is a big one, okay? And I'm sure around the world, I'm in America, but I'm sure around the world, there's a beauty standard. You got to look like this. If you want this, that is the furthest thing from the truth. Be yourself. Be yourself. And that's one thing I heard one time. And I didn't understand. I was like, wait, what? Like, somebody said the biggest lie they heard was when somebody told them to be themselves. What? So you're going to lie to yourself? You're going to lie to yourself forever? You're going to lie to yourself forever. Somebody said that the biggest lie, I've heard that. The biggest lie they heard was to be themselves. That just stems from that mentality of fake it till you make it. You can't fool Who are you fooling? That's my question. Who are you fooling? You're fooling no one but yourself. Who are you fooling? So, yeah, believe it or not, I have heard that. I have heard someone say, the biggest lie I've heard was to be yourself. I mean, if they want to believe that and think like that, on them. I'm not the person that's gonna, force anybody to do anything, okay? I'm not gonna come to you and be like, you have to do this or this. Nope. Nope. Okay? You got to give people time to go through their emotions, right? And then they'll come to a realization at a point. All right? But once again, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, be comfortable with yourself. Be comfortable with who you are. Be comfortable with who you were created to be, okay? Your parents got together, right? They did the do, and then you came through. So be comfortable with that. Be happy with that. You only create more issues for yourself if you beat yourself up over the way you look. Because that doesn't really change. I mean, unless you get, as you get older, right, it'll change a little bit. It'll adjust. You become more mature, right? But it doesn't change too much. So it's like you're either going to not like the way you look forever and get all this surgery and all this unnatural stuff in you and all this extraness. Or you're going to be like, you know what? I like that person in the mirror right there. That person, that's a soldier right there. That's a trooper right there. That's awesomeness incarnate right there. You're either going to be your own hype man or you're not. So, or you're going to be your own heckler, right? You're going to be your biggest heckler. You're going to be your biggest hype man. So I think I'll choose the right side to be the biggest hype man for themselves. So I urge people to do that for themselves as well. Because nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to do it for you. Okay? If anything, that's just another easy avenue of manipulation to give somebody the power to be able to tell you how to feel about yourself. That don't even make any sense. Like, what? But once again, use that for yourself. Whoever's watching, whoever's listening, be comfortable with who God created you to be. Be comfortable with that person in the mirror, okay? And once again, if there's anything you want to change, you have the tools to change that. So with that being said, you are awesome, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, okay? You have the tools you need to make that change for the better, to live in accordance, okay? And resist those temptations. So, hey, that's the video. Hope you were able to take some from this and apply it to any aspect of your life to bring some positive change. All right, so that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.